Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we're going to get into what leads to a breakup, then no contact. We're going to get into some Reddit stories. And the reason why I like these Reddit stories, and really their situations within relationships. So this isn't just breakups. One of the real reasons that it's good to look at these is sometimes from the outside, and a lot of people that come to the live stream sometimes are not in a breakup. They've been in a breakup before, they've come across my channel. But what's really interesting is you get to see the small problems. You get to see these small problems that you think your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, or wife don't really care about. You get to see these problems that are specific. And this is what I'll come back to again and again and again, is actually this is what leads to your breakup. Even if you cheated, Miguel, even if you cheated, there were small problems that led to you cheating. So it could have been you could think like, oh, I cheated. But prior to you cheating, there might have been some problems within the relationship that led to you cheating. So what do I mean by that? It's like, oh, well, we didn't sleep together only but once a month. Oh, well, she kind of just started hanging out with her friends more. Does that give you the right to cheat? No. But if you would have maybe got out in front of those problems, had some good conversations, maybe come up with some alternatives to just complaining about it, then maybe you could have fixed some of that stuff or came to a point where you agree. So number one, what leads to a breakup and no contact? You haven't addressed your issues within the relationship. And like I said, what's really nice about these situations on Reddit is that these are how problems are, rather than, oh, my relationship is toxic, or, oh, my relationship is, I have a narcissistic partner. Those are broad generalizations. They don't help you. You got to get into the problems. Okay, you really do. So they met someone else. That's what leads to a breakup and no contact, right? That's one of those ones you think like, oh, well, it just happened. There was probably problems leading to them meeting someone else. Are you always going to be able to prevent things? No. But when you come into the live stream like this and you hear all these little problems, hopefully one of them you can relate to, or on the flip side, you might think, oh, this is crazy, but it might come up later on. So these are things that, like, you know, you're in the moment, you're like, oh, this is crazy. Oh, this would never happen to me. I'm never surprised. There's all kinds of things that can go on. Number three, your problems weren't fixable. Okay. So what happens when I'm dealing with people's problems, I don't have my feelings involved as much. So I can be more logical. I can give you more advice that doesn't have to do with an outcome that I'm fixed on. Now, here's the thing: when people start the solution wheel, right? What happens is maybe I make a suggestion. Miguel has an issue. I make a suggestion. He's like, no, I don't want to do that. Now his brain's saying, but I would do this. So what happens is when you ruminate in your room, you go on YouTube for too long, you watch a bunch of IG reels, you just get stagnant and you're not in solution mode. What you are doing is you're stuck on one outcome. So you're just saying, like, they're never going to call me again. That's a big one during no contact. They're never going to call me again. They never cared about me. I can't believe they're seeing someone else. These are the thoughts that go over and over again. And you're just stuck on a loop, playback, and you don't know it. It's like when you talk to someone else or you watch content like this, where there's a live person talking, because AI is about to take over a bunch of this stuff, going through similar problems to yours. Maybe your mind gets stimulated and go, wait a minute, out of those three outcomes that my mind has, they never cared about me, they're never going to call me. Maybe there's more outcomes that I can look at. It's called perspective. And one of the number one things you got to learn in your life is that a limited perspective is going to limit everything you do, right? And so what I've noticed about a lot of successful people, even outside of relationships, is they're able to have a positive perspective or a good outlook, but they're also have multiple ones. They're not rigid. Oh, it's just like that. And this is what happens when you're in a breakup, because you're stuck in that pit of hurt and anger. But how'd you get there? right? It's a bunch of little stories, little situations that you didn't address that added up to what happens at the end. And especially when you go no contact, negotiations are off, someone's sick of the other person, it went too far. But a lot of times that action, that nail in the coffin, it was a culmination of things. So let's get into the Reddit stories today. Miguel Coronado, I do appreciate you. Mirror, mirror, good morning. It's actually the afternoon where I'm at. I don't know where you are in the world, but let's get into this. So, and these are, like I said, it's really good to look at some of these situations, because then when you're in situations like this, or you're in a situation where you think to yourself, I don't know the answer, you can look at these Reddit posts and you can go, wow, I can find solutions for other people, because your feelings are not involved. They are never going to call as good though, right? Move on and then put it to the past. Put that in context, mirror, mirror. What exactly are you asking specifically about? If I'm getting that right, so they are never going to call. Bottom line is, when you're in a breakup, let me break this down real quick. Good question. When you're in a breakup or you're in a bad situation, anytime in your life, anytime, using the word never limits you. So they're never going to call me. The mind sort of, the mind really rejects the idea of never, right? It's not a positive thing. Okay. Now there's certain things you'll be like, I would never do that. There's always a situation where you might eat crow and do that thing. But when you say they never are going to call, for a lot of people that triggers them, because they feel like even if they don't want to talk to them again, even if they're upset, they still want the attention, validation, and knowing that they care. So using the word never is dramatic, I usually say. And if you just change it out, like, I don't know why they haven't called yet, and I don't need to know why. The uncertainty is what really messes with you. Move on, then put it into the past. So you're speaking from a context of not wanting someone to call and then just being able to move on. But there's certain breakups which is really hard. You never fill in the blank. Best thing to say to spouse, not. I didn't get that terminology there. All right. Any questions, any comments? I'll get to them in a moment. I'm going to go into this Reddit story. I do appreciate you, mirror, mirror. Okay, so let's get into this one. Let's check this out. Yeah, this is not too long. I accidentally locked out my husband while I was asleep, and he sent some awful things to me. I feel awful, but he was also awful, and I feel so conflicted. What do I do? So now my husband went out first time drinking with his new friends since moving to a new city. Okay, so right off the bat, you're moving into a new city with new friends. So what does this mean? This means new identity. This means that there's going to be some changes in his character because he's hanging out with new people, okay? And it's just the start. It's just the start of that, right? So right off the bat, when you mention that, there's going to be probably a shift, identity change, and those things. You can weather the storm or you can panic. I wouldn't suggest panicking. Confront things from the get-go. I was looking after our child, so I couldn't pick him up if he stayed after 8, as then I couldn't leave with our child to get him, as she would be asleep. He knew this and said he was going to be home earlier anyways. 8 rolls around, he's very drunk, but deciding to stay longer. I say, no problem, just take an Uber home. Okay, so just remember, you said no problem. I get our child to bed, and I do my night routine where I take sleep medication. I wear custom earplugs that blocks out any noise so I can sleep well. My child sleeps in the same room as me. Got it. I fall asleep and wake up wondering where he is as it's late. I check my phone and there's dozens of missed calls and messages. He had Ubered home at 10 and had forgot his house key, so was knocking on the door trying to get in for ages, but couldn't hear him. We are also on the 2nd floor. Now, obviously, at this point, I panic and feel awful and didn't hear him and look out the window to try to see him, but he's not there. So, all right, bottom line, in the moment, he's pissed, right? He's upset. He's going to be upset about that. He can't get in the house. He's probably going to give you a lot of problems. Maybe even in the morning when he's hungover, he's more pissed. But this is one of those things, it will blow over, right? He's got to look at it. If you really do wear earplugs every night, well, then legitimately you wouldn't have heard, right? That's a legitimate reason. He probably in the moment thought you were punishing him and we're leaving him outside, and that's why he's upset. But this is something that you guys should meet halfway on the bridge and go, look, I really had earplugs on, and I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to lock you out. I checked my phone, and he Ubered my parents to my parents' house. Here's the part that broke my heart. In his anger of not being let back in, he sent me some really awful texts along the lines of swearing at me and calling me names. Now, in the history of our entire time we have been together, he has never sworn or called me names or anything. So it was really out of pocket for him. All right, so let's just keep in mind that he's drunk, which isn't an excuse, but it means he's out of character right now. He also is not being able to get into his own home while he's drunk, and he thinks that you're angry at him. He's assuming that because you're not answering the door, but he knows you're home, right? Does that make it okay that he made all those swearing comments? No, but to put it into context, is it going to be a repeatable thing? Is it something he can come back and say, sorry, there was a misunderstanding. I forgot you had earplugs in. Okay. And now he's sober and now he realizes. I feel sick to my stomach because I don't know how to feel or what to do. I'm crying in bed right now because I have somehow wait until tomorrow to talk to him sober, and I'm at a loss at what to do. Bottom line is this is going to blow over, right? You guys should meet each other when you're, and this is a big one, right? You don't have arguments when you are emotional. You shouldn't have a lot of arguments when you're drunk, but a lot of people do. When you come to your senses, when you're sober, then you talk. Look at it like this. It's like you're getting back to baseline. You're getting back to the real world. You're getting back to someone that's in control of impulsive actions. What happens when you get really drunk is usually you loosen up, you let things out, and this was circumstance-based. He was locked out. There's a misunderstanding here that led to this. So this can be cleared up soon, right? And this is one of those things, if you make a big deal out of it, or he makes a big deal out of it further, or you just sweep it under the rug, it could get worse. Meet up, talk about it, wait till the afternoon, explain that you had your earplugs in, which is true. And like I said, if it's completely out of character for him to call you these names, then address that if it becomes a repeated action. I think she is lying. She purposely locked him out and posted this hoping he would read it. It's possible. It's possible. Let's see here. Okay, this is an interesting one. This is interesting to me. My boyfriend recently passed away, and I have found things that point out that he may have been cheating on me. I don't know what to do. Should I investigate further and find out the truth? Before I even read this, I don't think you should investigate it. No. If you've already lost someone, right? Whether that's an ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, whether that's a family member, a friend, a distant friend, a coworker, right? If you're going to hold any kind of grudge or dig up dirt on them, what's your intention? Right? I mean, what's the intention of the whole situation? Is that to do what? If you're one of those people, I just need to know, go for it. But when someone passes away, there's something really interesting that happens if you're in a good place. You don't judge that person based on one action or one thing. You should be basing it on the totality of the relationship that you've had and that you've known that person. And then also, I hope any kind of problems you have with them died with when they passed away. There should be a high level of forgiveness once that happens. Holding a grudge or finding out bad things about someone that's already passed away, I don't know what the objective is. But like I said, if you really need to know, then go for it. But the idea that it's somehow going to bring you peace, probably not. The idea that you're going to investigate if this person cheated on you after they've already passed away, like I said, what's your intention? What's the objective here? Is someone telling you to do this? Ask yourself that question. If the intention is not serving you, then move on and move forward, right? And just let it go. Some things you don't want to know. And if someone's already passed away, they're not going to affect you in any other ways. That's it. Let's see here. This is an interesting one. And I like the way this question's a little bit short, but this actually does come up. How to kindly tell my new boyfriend that the things he says to impress me sound ridiculous and unnecessary. This is a really good one. I've heard females say this before, that the interaction that they get in text, like, how's your day? What have you been up to? I've known women before that they're annoyed by this kind of sweet, kind texting that feels artificial and boring, right? But at the same time, what you have to realize is everyone's different. So there's some women out there and there's some men out there, and I get this all the time, that they love to text regularly all day. And if they have a new partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, that don't do that, they get triggered and they think, oh, they don't care about me. Oh, they're just pushing me to the side. When in fact, the person just doesn't text anyone a lot, or they're really busy. This happens all the time. The actual context of the text. So this idea of like, oh, I don't like it, it's ridiculous and unnecessary. So somewhere along the lines, it just doesn't vibe with you, but he maybe has used it with other women in his life and it's worked. So let's see what she wrote. Hi all, I started dating a new guy 2 months ago. He's very nice, proactive, and has a solid life. Okay. One issue, he often says things to me, I assume, to impress me, that have the opposite effect. He told me that he loves me after 2 months. Wow. And that he feels safer with me than he has in past relationships a month in. Normally, I take this as a huge red flag, but he hasn't pressured me to reciprocate. I don't know why this would be a huge red flag. And he's never brought up these feelings in a guilt-tripping context or broken any boundaries. I told him that I don't feel the same way. I told him, that I don't feel the same way, and he was very accepting. One thing that you can ask when you're in this situation, let's say someone drops the I love you early, right? 2 months in, and it gets awkward real quick. One thing that you can go with is you can say, all right, well, what does it mean to you to love someone? You can ask some questions. What is it, your expectation? You can also say, look, I'm one of those people, just the way I operate, I usually don't say I love you for 6 months, 7 months. So you just give that other person a heads up. It's not you. This is just something that I hold closely. But this would be a good time to ask someone their definition of love. And then instead of imposing your definition, which a lot of people do, like, well, love means this. Love means different things to different people. Whether that's right or wrong, it's an opinion. So this would be a good opportunity to say, well, what's that mean to you? I mentioned once that I learned to shoot as a child with several of my male relatives, and he, having never brought it up before, suddenly has a concealed carry permit and used to practice at a gun range. He now repeatedly brings this up, but can't name the firearm that he carried. I also mentioned that one's wealth isn't important to me, but I appreciate people who have healthy philosophies around finances and savings. All of a sudden, he's telling me unsolicited his credit score, how long he's been saving, telling me to max out my Roth IRA, but he can't name the annual savings limit. Okay, so you're a details person, right? You guys are 2 months in. You're getting to know each other, right? Whether you think that this guy's just doing this to please you is still a discovery mission. You're 2 months in. I don't know how often you're seeing each other. So just allow it to unfold and play out. If this continues on, then maybe it's not for you. Because if you can't take him seriously, then it's just not going to work out, right? On the flip side, you're 29, he's 26. I think, and this would be interesting if I was able to talk to the live person. You're 3 years older than him. in your late 20s. So there's part of you that's probably saying to yourself, like, why are you telling me what to do all the time? Like with the Roth IRA, you're pushing back a little bit on that. How much actual, wealth do you have yourself? That's probably subconsciously in your mind. The idea that he's all of a sudden be handling guns, and you think that's just because that's a little bit much, right? But bottom line is, you don't love him yet. He loves you. You feel like he's changing who he is. Let it unfold for another month. You've been together. You've been dating for 2 months, but probably where there's smoke, there's fire. You're just not as interested in him, and you're looking for ways to build a case out of this thing. If I had to ask you on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your attraction? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your trust? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your connection or chemistry? I bet the connection and chemistry would probably be like 6, a 7. I bet your attraction is probably like a 7. It's not completely high. What happens is in the beginning of a relationship with most people, they'll overlook little annoyances or little problems in lieu of attraction, in lieu of something more valuable. Right now, it's already bothering you. It'll bother you later, whether you're right or wrong. So like I said, right now, maybe give it another 2 weeks to a month. If it continues on, be done, because you already don't trust him. Let's see here. All right, let's pull this one up. Caregiver fatigue, engaged to a 28-year-old female. What do I do? Interesting. I've been engaged to my fiance for 3 years. When we first met, we were overweight and smokers. Well, that's not good. Since then, I quit smoking and put on some more weight, but I'm doing my best to lose it. Well, your best is your best. She has relapsed into smoking, and the smell is so bad we're sleeping in separate rooms. Okay, so when you met her, she was a smoker, and now you're not. Okay, so that's one of those things. Just because you quit doesn't mean she's going to quit. The longer someone smokes, the longer someone has a habit, let alone cigarettes, which is highly addictive, it's going to be harder for her to quit. So what happens is you come into the relationship congruent on something, and now you're not. And don't just assume that she's going to have to quit smoking. I maintain the apartment, perform all the car maintenance, do all the laundry, and remind her to attend to her appointments. Okay, so that's your choice. Okay, you're a 30-year-old man. She's a 28-year-old female. You're like, I do this, this, and this. This is what a lot of times with Mr. Nice Guy we call covert contracts. So what does that mean? It's like, oh, I do this, this, and this. So you're looking for something and be repaid with, when in fact you've been doing it from the beginning. 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with stage 3 melanoma. I'm sorry to hear that. Had a very long recovery with every complication you can think of. I was the sole provider, paying for everything and tending to her wounds and driving to her appointments. Well, I would just say you're a good person, you're a good human, and you won't regret that, sincerely. When we moved in to our upstairs apartment, I did the majority of the lifting since she was still recovering. Okay. Again, good human. You won't regret these things at your deathbed when you're 90 years old. Good job. She has since recovered and returned to work, but I feel like I'm doing nearly everything with bills in the apartment and cleaning. Okay, so I've mentioned this before. When people complain about cleaning, is it possible to hire someone to clean once a week to help out with that part? So if she's not a cleaner, you are, and it's too much for you. Is that something that can be affordable? The other part is, I'm doing nearly everything with bills in the apartment. That's a finance issue. So what you want to do is, when you look at the bills in the apartment, she's just getting back on her feet. She's just starting to work. Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Is there a situation where she is going to start making more money? Right? If there isn't, where you're like, wow, she's never going to get it together. These are problems that aren't going to be fixed. The cleaning thing that comes up, this cleaning thing comes up a lot. And like I said, if you can afford it, there's robotic vacuums now. I think hiring someone to clean your house or apartment is not as expensive as a lot of people think, right? Not to mention that I have to remind her constantly to go to her appointments, and half the time it's forgotten. The cancer diagnosis was only discovered because I twisted her arm to go to the dermatologist. Otherwise, she would have forgotten. All right, so you're a caregiver, okay? You've leaned into this role, maybe unknowingly, maybe subconsciously for 3 years. And what? Now you're getting sick of it? What do you want? You want more credit, or you want her to remember her appointments? What specifically are you looking for is what I would ask. She doesn't take care of herself and insist on my body, my choice. Okay, you have an autonomy of your body and choices, but you don't feel like surviving cancer would be some sort of wake-up call. Listen, it's her prerogative. You're not going to change that with some surface-based advice. What you're in control of is you and your actions. Now, if you have gone out of your way for this individual and you've done all this for a long period of time, and now you're feeling like things aren't improving, and what you're telling yourself is like, wow, we're just going to end up with you sick again and me taking care of you all over again. If that's the case, you got to ask yourself, am I up for this again? Right? Intimacy has been dead for quite some time since surgery. I hate to admit it, but I'm not physically attracted to her anymore. She complains about it regularly about what I should do, but if I gently suggest something, it goes off the rails very quickly. Okay, so you're in a situation where you don't want to be the bad guy. Okay, and you've been taking care of someone that's been, this is a very unique situation, right? You've been taking care of someone who's terminally ill. And like I said, you're a good person. You're a good human. You got a good soul. You probably like that about you. On the flip side, it's like, where's the finish line? So people could do things like this for a year, 2 years, 3 years. You're 30 years old. Listen, man, as a male, you're in your prime. You're in your peak. And so if she doesn't level up, or at least meet you halfway on the bridge and start changing some of these habits like cigarettes and different things like that, then you have a right, and it's going to be really difficult, because what you have here is, you look at it, if I leave, what is she going to do mentally and physically? Is she going to let herself go? And that's the problem. I'd book a session with myself, and we need to unpack this a little deeper, because what happened here is you're entangled in something that one part of you likes the fact that you're taking care of her and doing the right thing and being a good person, good human, and the other part of you is like, wow, I have no intimacy. This individual has really let themselves go, and they don't really want to improve their health, even though I'm trying to help them. And so both of those options you don't like, right? Maybe I'm the asshole. You're not an asshole, but I don't have anyone to talk to about this, and therapists in my area are either not accepting patients or won't take my insurance. Any advice would be appreciated. Well, if you were on my live stream, I would definitely let you call in and talk about it. How to stop my husband. I won't get that one. Let's take a look here. We'll take a look at the chat real quick. Mr. J, these are just examples of toxic relationships. You know what, Sabina, I don't know if they're all toxic. These are individual situations where there's problems. And some people, when they're in the middle of the problem, they don't really see any kind of solutions or alternatives. So a lot of times we get, what's up, BW? A lot of times what we think is a toxic relationship is a general term, when in reality, these things that I'm mentioning in this relationship advice forum, right? They might not be just toxic problems or anything like that. They're just the problems that come up in a relationship. So actually, the real interesting thing is you probably have friends or family that have been together 10, 15, 20 years, and you think from the outside, wow, they're really good together, or wow, they'll never get a divorce, or what have you. They have problems like this too, and you wouldn't think they were toxic. So these are just the little increment things that come up, right? So, and people who shouldn't be in a relationship in the first place. However, get your point of view. And sadly, most relationships are toxic. The world is broken. Oh my goodness, Sabina. Is the world broken? Sadly, most relationships are toxic. The world is broken. I guess from this standpoint, I wonder if we would have a Reddit and everyone would be like, let me just, what's funny about that is if you had a Reddit post where you're like, Just share your wonderful interactions with your partner, right? Would there be a lot of posts about that? Oh my God, we had the most incredible dinner yesterday. I don't know. I think that the longer you're with someone, you're just going to have these things come up. Sounds like he wants to break up but can't. For me, toxic is even inability to communicate on a mature level. Okay. All right, let's get into the next one. Okay, this is actually a good one. Let me know if you guys can. Is that readable? Yeah. Let me get this right. Yeah. All right. I think my wife, let's get into this one. Not too long. Kind of long. I think my wife cheated on me 8 years ago and I just realized it. Now what? Okay, so I think means I don't know, first and foremost, right? I'm always going to tell people that. So and a lot of people don't realize that, right? I think means I don't know, right? So that means that you need to ask more questions. And even when you think and you ask more questions, you still might not know because sometimes people can lie that you don't trust. So context, we've been together 10 years, married 2 years, have kids, house, the American dream. I don't want to give too much info on this throwaway account because I see her using Reddit more frequently. So pretty much what happened is there was an incident where she was out. So look, notice this, they've been together 10 years, married 2, and we have one incident. Okay, we have one incident that's lighting the wick to a big issue. And there was an incident where she was out all night. So let's just keep in mind, you're 30 and she's 38. Okay. She was out all night with her friend. I didn't hear from her at all. I get up in the morning to a message that she was seen out with her friend, one of her ex-boyfriends. When she finally got up, I guess someone informed me that I was told. Okay, she explained the whole night over a text and apologized for confusion and promised they just ran into him and her friend initiated the conversation. Nothing happened. So this is where you give your partner, your girlfriend, boyfriend the benefit of the doubt, or you don't. Okay. I would want to have that conversation live in person so I could see so I could hear the tone and the mannerisms. Okay. Like how they're acting. Text, you're not going to be able. It's just like, oh, we just met. If you're able to ask questions in person, you get a totally different idea if someone's telling the truth or not, right? Well, a couple weeks ago, I found my old phone in a drawer, and surprisingly, it turned on. I had nothing better to do, so I scrolled through old pics, vacation, kids, babies. It was cool until I came across screenshots I took of those messages. From the friend that told me about what was seen in the messages back and forth between us, I messed up and read it all over again. Even though we talked through it at the time and moved past it, we left it at nothing happened. It was all a big misunderstanding. The messages between us now, years later, with much more emotionally and financially, I could see it right through some of the lies about certain details. If I were to sip the lies, it now looks to me like she hit him up, ended up at his house and got a ride back to her car early in the morning. My heart started pounding. I got dizzy. I'm thinking, have I been duped all these years? No, I'm just going crazy since I've been extra stressed about a project at work. All right. So right now, in a different time, in a different state of mind, you're looking across information about what? Right? Think about that for a minute. You're looking at different information with a different perspective. Okay, like Mirror says Columbo, right? I've told a few clients recently, usually when they're dating, okay, if you're gonna try to play detective, maybe you want to just hire a private eye. Now, a client of mine that's really well off, he's like, they're actually expensive. It's like $100 an hour. Okay. But if you want to keep, I think, and you just want hard proof, then maybe that's an option. Is that something I'm telling you to do directly? No, I'm just saying that instead of you wondering and thinking, maybe you have a little bit of money, you got a 10-year marriage here, instead of you assuming, maybe you can get a private eye to just look into that if that's something you really need to know. Now, the idea that you're going to assume and think, here's the problem. Stay with me on this. Here's the problem. Okay? The problem with that is if she's dug in on her remembrance of the event, if she's dug in on, no, I didn't do anything, you're never going to get anywhere no matter what your evidence says or your friend says. Now, if you get a private eye and they actually have like evidence of the stuff going on, fine. You're in a situation where this was a while back, right? So this is a while back and you're going to look back into it. It's a closed case. She's going to be irritated, right? Do you really want to know? Now, the most important question is, because you got kids here, was that just a one-night thing if it was anything? Or do you think she has been continuously or presently cheating on you? That's a different question to ask. That's more pertinent to where you're at right now. I've met many women that have found out their husband is cheating and they go, wow, I wish he was just a little more smooth. I wish I would have never found out. Because now they have to act on it. So now I'm just giving you a few different perspectives on that. Now, since I'm home alone and it's quiet, I'm just sitting on thinking about it. What about this? And what time when I questioned something that didn't make sense? What about the time she was so sure I was cheating on her that she called my sister and my parents to talk about it before she could even get a hold of me? What about this comment? So right there, you've been accused of cheating when you weren't. So just keep that in mind, that you possibly are wrong here. Okay. What about this comment she made once, and I'm sure some of it is nothing, but I can't help but think that some of it is something. Maybe it's because my ex cheated on me at least once and I didn't find out about it until we separated for other reasons. So I'm going to just give you a quick news flash. Right? I've been doing breakup coaching for 6 years now, 6 years plus. Talked to a lot of different people about a lot of different relationships, and I would say 50% of the population, and that's a conservative estimate, have cheated on their long-term partner. I don't know what the average is of finding out, but it's extremely common. There's a lot of people in long-term relationships that have been forgiven for cheating at least once or twice. Do you need to do that? No. But it's an option. You have kids. You guys have been together 10 years. You've been married for 2. What do you want to do here? This would be a time to call me up and book a session and go through this. Don't talk to your friends or family. If you talk to your friends or family and you say she's cheating, they'll know that for the rest of time. And now, even if you choose to forgive her, your friend at the Christmas party is like, oh yeah. And the thing about friends and family, they'll tell other people. They'll tell their partners, oh, did you hear about Sally? She actually hooked up with someone else. You don't even know if it's true. Now you've made this thing much worse. Talk to someone privately. It's really important, because what you're doing too is you're getting a neutral party. If you tell one of your friend or family members and it's your wife, it's going to get around. So I guess going to Reddit's not the worst thing compared to that, but you're just going to get all kinds of comments on it. So we had some time alone together, and I've been living in this anxious loop, not knowing what to do. She brought something up related to those things that bothered me. The more she stalked, the more I realized, wait, there's more to this story, because I haven't heard these parts yet. She said I looked upset, and I said, yeah, you told me happened, and now X happened, and now you say it actually went like this. That's when I asked, what else have you been hiding from me? Nothing, she says. I said, no. I know there's more you're hiding, because that story never made sense, and now you kind of spilled the beans. Did I miss something here? All right. So did she admit to cheating or not is my question. Nothing, she says. What else have you been hiding? She knows I recently had to talk to her ex for work reasons. Nothing. Why? Did so-and-so say something to you? I told her that I know more than she believes I do, which is a lie. I'll always love and accept, come clean. She told me to ask her a question about anything and she will answer honestly. Okay. I said I wanted her to tell me. I don't want to give you an opportunity to know which incident I know about. I'm bluffing at this point. She knows you're bluffing. Okay, so let's just pull this up so people can see this. She knows you're bluffing. I've actually coached a woman before that was cheating, felt guilty about it. Her husband unfortunately had an ailment where he could no longer get an erection for like 8 years, right? And so she started hooking up with someone at work. She said, I feel horrible about it, but unless he asks me directly about it, I won't tell him. This is exactly what she's saying. She's like, unless you have like proof or you have a direct question, I'm not going to come out and tell you. It's very smart of her. After pressing hard, she hits with a curveball. She hooked up with some random guy about 3 weeks after we met. Not a huge deal. We weren't serious at all yet, but the ongoing assumption based on the lie was that she hadn't been with anyone in months when we met. All right, so this is what's really interesting about this. Stay with me on this. This is a great... hold on a second. Let me see if I can make this bigger for you guys. Yeah. So think about it like this. And let me just pull that up. This is a great example of someone in the moment improvising. She's in trouble. Where there's smoke, there's fire. He realizes maybe her stories aren't lining up. I think you cheated. He's asking all these questions about a specific incident. He's got text messages. He's got other people involved. And she goes, you know what? I'll tell you the truth. When we were together for 3 weeks, I did hook up with someone else. So what she did is she just said, it's beautiful because, and from her standpoint, is what she's doing is she's going, well, look under this hat for a lesser thing. And I'm going to be honest with you. But she's also proving that she was capable of lying then in the beginning. So maybe she's lying now. That's all I could get out of her. And for some reason, I still don't believe it. These thoughts have been occupying my mind for weeks. And while I pretend everything is fine, I can't concentrate. My question would have been like, when she said, well, just ask me anything directly. When you're asking her in person, ask her, did you hook up with your ex-boyfriend that night and have intimacy? And then look in her eyes. Not this, well, you tell me what I don't know. These thoughts have been occupying my mind for weeks, and while I pretend everything is fine, I can't concentrate on anything without thinking about it and trying to figure out what's true and what's not. We have a good relationship. I do love her, and honestly, I don't think I would let her go if we uncovered something like that and are able to move past it. What should I do? Well, all right, so if you look at it like, well, I just need to know. But even if I do know, like, I won't break up with her. We're married, we have kids. You might want to end the investigation. If you think right now, where you're at right now, she's not cheating, you might want to end the investigation. And to do that, I would book a session and we would probably do some tapping on the idea, on what's going on, and find a way for you to accept not to know. Now, if you ask her and she says, no, I didn't do that, you got to either accept it or let it go. Right? What happens with text, right? What happens with text is it gets crystallized in your mind that you have this evidence and that you've been done wrong. And it's like real proof. But in reality, it's still not enough. It's the text that you have in your mind. But if you're going to stay with her anyways, what I would recommend, therapist or coach, book a session with myself, and we'll go through this story. And it's not going to cure you, but you need to get out that loop in your head of all the facts and all the things that you know or think you know, and then what you really want. So like right now, you're like, I don't want to leave her. I just want the truth. Would the truth make your relationship better or worse? And my question mainly would be, in the present moment, is she messing around? Right? Do you think she's capable of doing this again? Because what you're opening up, if you find this out to be true, right, which she's been holding back, now you don't trust her. And also, like, are you willing to leave? Or are you just going to live with it? Okay. So life sucks, then you die. I don't know. There's some good parts, don't you think? Years ago, I suspected my girlfriend of cheating. I pretended I was turned on by it, and eventually she gave me the truth that she did. Then I ended it. Wow, I've never heard of people doing that. Little Houdini, huh? Hey, just tell me. I would be really turned on if I heard you were hooking up with someone else. You walked her right into that. She is with the guy till this day, so all was right in the end. Tough time, but like all breakups, they are great strength builders. Great point, Mirror. Sabina, yes. I would just ask him, how did he develop love for her knowing she cheated on him at the beginning of the relationship where he said he wasn't serious? Well, he's saying that he didn't know about that thing in the beginning. She just threw him a bone. She basically said, well, he's not going to get upset if I messed around on him 3 weeks in. But she lied about that, right? If he doesn't want to break up with her over this, he's got to find a way to end the investigation, especially if he doesn't think it's going on now. There's a bigger picture here. They have kids. They're married. They've been together 10 years, right? She's also older than him by 8 years, if you haven't noticed. She's 38. He's 30. Another 2 or 3 years, he's going to be in his prime and she's going to be out of her prime. And, you know, things might look a little different. She's definitely not going to be getting as much attention to cheat around. This is just strange. Some of these are strange. Let's check this one. 31-year-old female. Let's check this out. I'm being aggressively pursued by a much younger man. Oh my God, everyone's going to feel sorry for you here. This is one of those ones, I'm complaining, but I'm also bragging. Hooking up would be wrong even if he's instigating, right? So you're going to ask the Reddit population if you could hook up with some guy that's 20? Okay, and you're 31. You found me via post I made in an R4R sub dedicated to my city. Okay, whatever. I would never have my age limit set that low on dating apps. We had lovely and steamy conversation online. Then he let it slip that he was a whopping 11 years younger than me. He had shared some pictures and he honestly looked to me to be much older. Of course he did. He's clearly intelligent and articulate in his last year of college. I told him flat out he's too young for me, but he gently pushed back. He claims I won't even notice the age gap. He seems to be confident, but I feel like there is simply no way power dynamic could be really balanced here, right? Well, I think you just got to, like, at 31, what are you looking for? If you're looking for a long-term relationship to get married and have kids with, you're probably not going to go for the 20-year-old guy. If you guys are just wanting to hook up, have fun, have some steamy time together, your words, steamy conversation, then what's holding you back? What are you scared of? Usually age gaps I read are about men taking advantage of younger women. So this is a bit unique. The idea that if there's a guy that's 40 with a woman 25, sometimes who's taking advantage of who? Because sometimes the person in their 20s is with that person to get money or is with that person for a variety of reasons. So it's not that cut and dry, because what's interesting about that perspective, right? Oh, you look at it and you're like, oh, this 50-year-old guy's with a 25-year-old woman. Oh my God, he's taking advantage of her. Not really, because that 25-year-old woman could have way more of 50-year-old men, or way more guy. Like, that 25-year-old has way more options across the board. So if she has a problem, she can get out of that relationship and meet someone new right away. And usually the 25-year-old with the older guy ends up breaking up with them first or having problems first. So, I mean, it's not that cut and dry that someone just gets taken advantage of. Age gaps usually have a shorter shelf life. So like if you have a 15-year age gap, 20-year age gap, is it harder? Yeah, absolutely. One of the reasons it's harder is because you grew up in different generations. So just like when you meet an aunt or an uncle that are 20, 30 years 20, 30 years older than you or whatever, they look at the world differently. So you're not as congruent, right? And so you have more disagreements about things that seem petty just because you're not on the same page a lot of times. And that can get old really quick. And then the age thing kind of catches up. Now, what's the difference? Well, if someone really looks good for their age, if someone makes a lot of money, there's all kinds of trade-offs to how that can work. It's not cut and dry. An age gap of 31 to 20 is not crazy, but usually I read are about men taking advantage of women. Also, a bit about me, I never have interacted with anyone this much younger before. In fact, I usually date people either my age or significantly older. So Redditors, what do you think? A young guy wants intimacy with an older woman. Am I a monster for entertaining the idea? Absolutely not. No, you're human. So if you want to, go for it. If you don't, just know your intentions. If you think that, you know, this isn't going to be a marriage and kids, it's going to be fun. It's not going to be long term. Because one thing I would say, if you were 40 and the guy was 30, this would be much different. It's just that at 20, you know, it's still an immature mind. You just got to know what you want. Set your boundaries at the beginning, but you guys could have some fun. And the idea that you're entertaining, no guilt here. Everything's fine. Tough, though, those demons, hamster wheels in the head. Yes, mirror, mirror. Yeah, we would do well if he wants to stay together to have a reset and think of it like that, or day one again. Red flag, aggressive pursuit will equal crazy stalker X when she is done with him. Run. Okay, that's Sabina's advice. I didn't get stalker vibes here. It seems like they were mutually arousing each other in their steamy chat. It's just too long. I'm just going to go over this title. I'm not going to get into this story. So me, 26-year-old male, and my girlfriend, 24, are expecting, and I don't think it's mine. What should I do? Before I even entertain this story, number one, there's a way to check this, right? Not while she's pregnant, but when the baby comes out. So if that's really the case, you can get a blood test, and then it's the Maury Povich show, right? So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. So you have an answer. You don't have to think about it. You can ask her. If you don't believe her, then there's a problem, right? In the meantime, I would recommend that you do your best to keep her calm and make sure that baby comes out healthy, and put that first. But there's a way for you to figure this out. I've had a friend before that had a one-night stand. The girl got pregnant, and he was like, oh, it's not mine, this, that, and the other. And who knows, right? But when he went to the hospital and the baby came out, he knew it was his because the baby looked like him. And they ended up getting married. They ended up having kids, and it worked out for them. Bottom line is, that's a thing that whether you have a backstory or a short story, you're going to be able to find that out when the baby comes out. In the meantime, I wouldn't verbally abuse her or give her a hard time. She's pregnant right now. You'll be able to find that out when it comes out. You know, that's something that you can get a direct answer on, right? Let's check this. My boyfriend and I have a relationship that is starting to feel more like friendship. Should I end things? 18 and 19. I wouldn't say you necessarily need to end things, but you need to figure out if you're still attracted to each other. So there's reasons when you start to be friends, it just means attraction's down. So, oh no, attraction's not everything. I mean, what's the difference between being friends and not being friends? It's attraction and intimacy, right? So, what are the reasons that you're falling out of attractionness for, right? What's the reasons? Is it because they gained weight? Is it because You're seeing other people that you're more attracted to. A lot of times when people are younger, this individual on Reddit was 18 or 19. When they're in their 20s, they can lose attraction just because they're in a new group of friends, right? Let's just say you go to a college, your girlfriend goes to a different college, and she's in her sorority and you're in her fraternity. I've never been in these groups, but these groups, they party, right? If you're around 100 new women that are 25 to 20 years old and you're 23, which some of these parties and these colleges have abundance of, you're going to be comparing your girlfriend, unfortunately, to them, and you're going to probably have less attraction at some point, unless your girlfriend is so much more appealing to you. Is it right or wrong? No, it's reality. Okay? This is an interesting one. Let's see here. This is really interesting. All right, I like this. Me, Myself, and Irene was a funny movie. How do I explain to my partner, 25-year-old male, I'm 24-year-old female, that I can't adjust to quit my job for a once-in-a-lifetime trip? My partner, Andrew, has the opportunity to go to Iceland at the end of this month. Wow, that's the event, 28th, 30th. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. Okay. It came up all of a sudden. We did not expect him to be able to do this. He invited me to go with him. We've been dating for 2 years now. So just right off the bat, just to clean this up, and just, cut some of the drama fat off it. Why does it have to be a once-in-a-lifetime trip? This is a good example of like how you're phrasing it. It's like, oh, this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip to go to Iceland. Not really. You could probably go to Iceland next year, or you could probably do this trip in 2 or 3 years. So it's not once in a lifetime, because Iceland's not on an expiration date of existing. So right off the bat, that's just a case of where someone's sensationalized their problem. I want to go, however, my job requires me to be there on July 3rd, so I'd have to leave on July 2nd and ensure I arrive on time. So I can go June 26th to July 2nd. My partner wants the trip to be June 27th to July 6th. I've told him I can't do that and have work and life obligation. He wants me to call in sick that day. I'm one of 5 workers. If I don't show up, it's a giant mess up. I've had this day scheduled out for over a month. I'm leaving the job a week later. I put in 1 month's notice. So they've outlined the days I have to be there full time versus part time. All right. So this is one of those things. Great example. This is a great example of having a problem that can get bigger by not realizing some alternatives that you're not looking at. So you're dug in like, all right, I can do these dates. He can do these dates. You also have this stress of doing the right thing with the job that you're leaving. Okay, I get it. You're more conscientious than he is. So a couple of things you can do. You can go directly to your boss or whoever you work with and say, hey, I don't want to call in sick. Would it be all right if I got these days done and I could work remote from Iceland? Right? What if you presented them with that option? I could get the work done from there. If not, fine. That's one option. Going to your actual boss and asking if it's okay. And then if your boss gives you that time, what are you going to give them? So maybe instead of 1 month's notice, maybe you give them an extra 5 days. Maybe you do something extra for a project. The other thing that you could do here that you're not really seeing is if you go, why doesn't your boyfriend say, oh, can we go June 20th, have a little bit more time there, June 24th, and come back the 2nd? So I called him on the phone and tried to come up with 3 plans. The dates I said I could go, that I could go for part of the trip and leave early. Well, I said, okay, so you gave, or that I don't go at all. I love the fact that you gave him choices and 3 different options. That means your solution mindset. Well done. Well played. Let's see how. He argued that if I already put it in my last day, Why can't I move it up since I don't even need to give it a 2-week notice? I argued that doing so would burn a very valuable bridge in my network with possible future jobs. All I would ask is, would you be even willing to ask? And if you said no, because that's not the kind of person you are, he needs to accept that. So the fact that he asked you that and you gave a valuable answer based on your moral and character, fair enough. In the end, he said, I feel like you're putting your job before me and this relationship. I need to reevaluate the trip and our relationship. And he hung up. That's ridiculous. So here's the thing. Like you said earlier, this isn't a once-in-a-lifetime trip. You guys can go to Iceland next year. If there's some special event, the event will be on next year. So this idea that he's giving you this ultimatum, he's being highly dramatic because he's not getting your way. The idea that you gave him 3 different options is fine. What you guys have to let go of, you can go to Iceland next year together, or you can do a different trip together in a month or 2 months. This isn't the trip of the world. This isn't a once-in-a-lifetime trip. The kind of reaction from him is out of the blue. I know he's been stressed with work and the idea of this event, so I'm trying to give him a grain of salt. I know I'd be upset if I were in his position, but I would also understand that this is life, and sadly, obligations keep us from doing what we want. I know I'm probably in denial and trying to fix something I can't. Well, let it just simmer. Like, he's emotional, he's upset, so he reacted that way. He obviously should apologize, though. I think he went a little bit too far on you just, because really your answer is saying, like, look, I'm not that person, right? There's some people out there that be like, oh yeah, I'd call in sick or I'd do that. She's not like that. That's how she operates. It's actually admirable. She's an honest person, right? She's conscientious. This is probably a part of her that he likes. And I don't really think that she's choosing her job over him. What she's choosing is integrity, which is admirable. I've talked with friends, my parents, and my therapist. They all, oh my goodness, they all think his reaction is over the top and something else might be underlying it. The idea, if he doesn't get it, look, some people in the moment can get really upset over something petty, right? And then they can come to their senses. I would hope that he could come to his senses and go, wow, this isn't the end of the world here or our relationship. But my partner thinks I should follow along with him since I work a part-time job and I'm leaving soon. I would like advice on either navigating this rocky end of the relationship or how to better explain to him that I can't throw my job away for a vacation, even if it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip. So bottom line is, let's just change the narrative. It's not a once-in-a-lifetime trip. It's Iceland, okay? You'll be able to go again. You don't have to throw away your job for a vacation. You need to change that narrative too. So if you're just not willing to leave them hanging, you can go have a conversation with your boss and see if they think, oh yeah, no, we'd like to accommodate you. But if you want to keep your integrity, I think that's admirable. Stick with that. And hopefully this wouldn't be a reason to break up. There's no cheating being done here. There's no one being shown up. He's just disappointed he didn't get his way. He should come to his senses at some point. I forgot that movie. I have to reevaluate. Jeez, what a horrible thing to say, Ron. We had live streams where Mac was reading stories of people who broke up on the first together trip. Oh, you remember that one? That's a true one. And that's where they went, I believe. That's ironic. Good memory, Sabina. I reevaluated. When I say true, it's just that some people have told me about Reddit not being true. Like I said, these twists and turns, I can understand that. So much time together. But this is just a good example of when you mess up your narrative. It's a once in a lifetime trip. And I won't sacrifice my job. It's like, these are just big words. It's like, look, I have integrity. I'm not going to do that for my job. I'm available these days. And then you just set the line. You go, okay, and maybe we can go to Iceland next year. Oh, that's true. Well, it's all paid for and we don't have the extra money right now. So, mark it on your calendar in 2 years that you want to go there. It's not the end of the world. This guy should be able to come to his senses. Wow. My friend came across my ex's porn videos. Do I tell her? What's your intention? Are you gonna tease her, or what would be the reason? I'm dating a 31-year-old guy. Is the age gap really that bad? And I'm 23. All right, let's look at this, because age gaps are a big thing for some people. Let's take a look at this. We got 5 on deck. If the other people involved want to make a comment or two, thanks to being Amir and Mir for carrying the chat. But anyone else that wants to jump in, don't be shy. I'm dating a 31-year-old guy, and the age gap is really that bad. People should respect each other's space for sure. We've been dating for about 6 months now, and things are going well. We get along great. I've never been this happy in any of my last relationships like I am this one. The age gap doesn't really bother me, but some people do raise eyebrows when I tell them this age. 8 years, you're 23, you're a full-grown adult. It's not that big a deal. The idea that it's a big deal to other people, right? Everyone's got an opinion, okay? So if you go around living your life with everyone else's opinion, it's going to be really tough. You're gonna be a mess. This guy treats you well and you're happy. Enjoy the moment, hon. I did feel a little bit insecure at first because he already has his life together. That's why you're attracted to him, by the way. He has a good, stable job, his own house, a car. I have none of those things yet. I've just graduated college, looking for a job, and I still live at home. There's no problem with that. You graduated college, you're looking for a job. That's all right. You're 23 years old. The fact that you met someone at 31 that has their shit together and you're attracted to him, I think that's a good thing. It looks like you're selecting people that are healthy, that have things going for them. He pays for everything, our dates, buys us food when we hang out. I brought this up to him, and I told him it sometimes makes me feel bad, and he said it doesn't bother him because there are many ways I add to his life. He also told me that I'm very mature for my age, which is true, to be honest. I also sometimes forget that he's 8 years older than me. Anyways, does age really matter, or is it strong connection and compatibility important in a relationship? It's 23 to 31 is completely fine. In my professional opinion, people in their 20s are more impulsive, more selfish, and they're more likely to break up or things don't work out. It's like if you look at people from 20 to 25, and you can look at yourself if you're older now, like me. When you were that age, it's like when you get into a longer relationship, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, a lot of times you're thinking, is this the last person I'll ever be with? Because people just don't get married as young as they used to, right? So there would be more insecurity from him on that level, possibly. The idea that you're pretty mature, you're looking for a job right now, you're overthinking this because a few people gave you an opinion, and that's a product of your age. A lot of times as you get older, you care less what people think. Now I'll give you an example of that. Everyone has grandparents, I hope, right? Or some older people in their life. I guess not everyone has their grandparents, but if you meet people 60, 70, 80, people in their 80s, they don't give a shit what anyone thinks. They're on their way out. My point is, like, have you ever met an insecure 80-year-old? Wow, that guy, my great-grandfather's really insecure. I mean, it's possible, but the way they would show their insecurity is probably by just giving their opinion, not worrying about other people's opinion. My point is, as you get older, as you mature, you'll care less about what people think. Now, what you want to do is when you consider these people that are raising their eyebrows because you're with someone 31, you're 23, oh my God, right? Oh my goodness. What's their relationship like? Are they possibly jealous? Do I really value their advice that much? Is this in my best interest? Because it sounds like you got a pretty good thing going, right? Let me pull this up. These are good situations because these come up a lot. I, 27-year-old male, feels jealous for a 24-year-old female. How can I move past this feeling of jealous? So first of all, sometimes people are jealous because it's been induced. Someone's planted some jealous bait. But sometimes people are just jealous by nature and they're searching it out. That's usually the more often thing. So they learn that from their parents' relationship, or they're highly insecure because they think the person they're with is better looking or better than them. And that can create some high levels of jealousy. You got to ask yourself, am I just jealous of this particular situation, or am I jealous overall? And a lot of the times when I have clients that are jealous, they'll be like, no, I'm jealous. I'm a jealous type. And they think that, oh, this is just normal and this is the way I show love. No, it's always going to hinder your relationships if you're an overbearing jealous type. And I'll tell you what, even if you stay in a relationship and you're the jealous one and your partner accepts it, you're going to change that person that you're with to be more insecure about their actions to conform to you. So it's just unhealthy all the way around. Now, the opposite of that is when you have where you're just jealous of a situation. So you're not normally jealous. You're not a jealous type. You don't identify with it, but you have a situation where your girlfriend's spending more time with a colleague at work and talking about him a lot. And you're not overreacting like, who's this Todd guy? Who's John? You're a little bit jealous. You're suspicious. There's an incident that leads you to being more and more jealous. The problem is when someone goes, no, I'm just a jealous type of person. That's an individual problem. You're going to seek to make that true. You're going to blow up the spot on all kinds of things when your girlfriend's doing anything remotely uncomfortable with you, right? And these are the types that are always telling their girlfriends how to dress, how to act, how to talk. They're accusing them of things. And really, people like this, they don't change usually. So it may be, and the ironic thing is, some people like being with jealous people because they feel like they care more. They're just used to that kind of controlling relationship. And then they'll lean into it. And like I said, they'll start dressing differently. They won't talk to friends as much. And they think, oh, this is just how it is. But this situation, I would hope, I'm about to read it, is more like just an individual jealousy situation, which is totally different. I recently met I'm a 27-year-old male. Recently met a 24-year-old female on a dating app a week ago. After talking for a few days, we eventually hung out. We've been talking to each other and seeing each other any chance we get. Her and I really hit it off, and we just clicked too well together. She's very, let me pull this up for you guys. She's very fit and healthy, goes to the gym for hours every day, and she recently told me a story about how she met a guy at the gym who happens to live at the same apartment building and floor as me, but it didn't work out between them. Okay, so just right off the bat, number one, you've only been talking for a week, dude. All right, so get a grip. Number two, if she's very fit, healthy, and I'm assuming very good looking, goes to the gym, you're going to have to deal with stories like this, okay? We were leaving my apartment one morning after she spent the night, and after I walked her out to her car and entered my building, that guy she met at the gym was walking out of his apartment. This guy was obviously fit, more on the buff side, covered in tattoos, and I felt jealous. All right, so you had an internal moment of jealousy that this guy maybe is, I don't know, possibly better looking than you, right? In your eyes, in your opinion. All right, that's human. This isn't something to go off the rails. Let's see how you reacted to that. A similar thing happened the other night at the bar with her. The bartender was also buff and covered in tattoos. The way she kept looking at it made me jealous. Now, I'm a guy who goes to the gym, but not every day. I'm fit and healthy for the most part, but not buff. I have lots of tattoos, but I'm not covered. All right, so this is your classic comparison. You are 27. You are insecure. That's okay. A lot of 27-year-olds are. And here's an interesting thing. Newsflash. People that go to the gym and get buff and have a lot of tattoos, they're insecure too. Okay, everyone has a certain level of insecurity. This goes back to the older you get, the less insecurities you have sometimes, right? You would think by being buff, you'd be less insecure. The question is like, how much is enough, right? So these are all a lot of thoughts and feelings to process for someone I just met. But I just really enjoy being around her, and it's been a while since I felt this way for someone. I feel like I'm obviously her type, and she's comfortable with spending the night and is asking me to hang out a lot. So, like, for example, this is a great example where you could really mess things up right now. This would be a great time to book a coaching session and talk about this shit, okay? Now, because you need to unpack your feelings. So what happened is you saw, like, you got one thing. She told you about this other guy. So the good thing about her telling you about this guy at your apartment building is she's transparent. She's being honest with you. She's being open. She's not bragging. She's not saying anything bad. You ran into the guy. You're like, oh, this guy's buffer than me. You're sizing him up. You're comparing him to yourself. That's human. Now, you get to the point where now you went out to a bar. You guys have been drinking. You notice there's a buff guy that's a bartender, and she's kind of eyeing him. You guys aren't officially together. And now you're looking for these kinds of things. When you're in your 20s, right? And you guys are going, she's 24. You're going to have to deal with other guys checking her out. And let's just say her checking out other guys, right? You're going to have to deal with that. And you're not official yet. So airing this out on Reddit, maybe that's your way of dealing with it. You're not crazy. You don't seem obscenely jealous. Right now, you just really want this to work. And what I would recommend is probably some tapping and a couple breathing exercises just to calm your anxiety down. But she hasn't done anything wrong here. It's just your insecurity, and you really want this to work, right? You're like, it's your nerves. I feel like I'm obviously her type, and she's okay. I feel the same way for her, but I can't shake this feeling of fear and jealousy. I haven't felt this way for someone in a while, and I'm afraid to lose it because I want it to grow, and I don't want to keep repeating this cycle with people. Okay, so now you've made it a much bigger problem, right? Okay, this is good. So you're making this problem elevated by saying, like, I really like her. I don't want it to not work. So you identifying other guys that she might be attracted to isn't going to decide whether it works or doesn't work. Right? Whether she's going to peel off of you or not doesn't have anything to do with these guys having tattoos and being more buff than you. Right? And so what you need to do is reel back and take it one date at a time and have fun and go out and just take it one day at a time, one more connection. Now, if you continue this and identify that you have some triggers about the jealousy, maybe guys with tattoos that are more buff than you, then that's something that you can focus on in a coaching session with myself or another therapist out there, right? That's something you can focus on as your issue, because it doesn't sound like she's rubbing this in her face or sitting on guys' laps. That's where there's a line, right? And you're still not together. We really enjoy being around each other, and at the moment, I want it to last. I say the moment because we've only known each other for a week. So that's your problem, is you're going 0 to 100. So the idea that I really want this to last, you're getting into the future, and what you want to be at is the present, right? Or just next week we're going to go out, we're going to have a good date. It doesn't seem like these are red flags, right? But you will scare her away if you start overreacting to this. I'm looking for advice on how to deal with the jealousy and insecurity. I'm afraid of poisoning my mind and ultimately making me act or seem different that I'll push her away. What's the best way to move past this jealousy? Book a session at writemac.com and we'll go through it. This is an individual problem. You need to unpack it for you. What'll happen, and this happens with a lot of guys right now, is, all right, I'm feeling sensitive. All right, I'm feeling insecure. So let me have a talk with you so we can communicate better. So, yesterday when you met that guy in the apartment complex that you hooked up with, that really hurt me and upset me. Now, there's a lot of channels and there's a lot of things out there that say this is the way you need to communicate and be more open. Not when you first start dating like this. So you don't have someone to air that out to. You're going to Reddit. Okay, cool. The thing with Reddit, if you're insecure and uncomfortable, there are going to be some posts. We'll look at them after this where people are going to be giving you shit and might make you more insecure. So what I would say at 27 years old is book a session with myself or someone else out there and start unpacking and untangling where your jealousy comes from, because there's a fucking seed. and it's not her. Okay. So, and it doesn't even necessarily mean that you're gonna have one session and you're gonna be like, oh my God, I'm not jealous anymore. What happens is you unwind some things. You have some story from your past or a couple stories from your past that are lingering and creating narratives and umbrella type themes, right? So your umbrella theme, like, this is going really good, I don't want it to go bad. You're playing not to lose. That's a problem. Okay, when you're playing not to lose, this is when you get desperate. This is when you get uncomfortable, right? So what you want to do is you want to figure out, where's this jealousy coming from, and then is there some resources or things that I can do to tone it down? You're always going to have a little bit of jealousy or a little bit of comparison. What you want to do is you don't want it to go to 10. You want to, if you get triggered and you get to 10, you want to be able to bring it down to 4 or 5, right? Problem with this is you can go talk to your friends and family, and they're going to go, oh yeah, and man, she's just floating that in your face. This other guy, she'll hook up with him in a day. Some of them can just throw gasoline all over that. This is a problem you have. It's personal. It's about perception. So you got to look at it like, anytime you're in a relationship, most likely, and I don't know this until I talk to you, most likely what you're doing is you're filtering for, well, she might leave me because you've been cheated on before, or there was a girl that left you before for other reasons. And so realizing that filter is still there is the first step. The second step is just figuring out a way to deal with the filter and also be able to slow down the game. So when you slow down the game, and this is not like dating advice per se, this is about your life. So you start to identify, I don't like being jealous. I don't like it. I don't like the way it makes me feel. Okay, identify the problem, your problem. A lot of people that are jealous are like, no, they made me jealous. You're not identifying the problem. You're under the influence of your own thoughts being paramount to everything else, right? The reality is this girl hasn't done anything wrong. She hasn't thrown anything in your face, and you need to fix this for you. And so I would say probably some of the things we would do would be tapping and talking out. Where did you first become jealous in your life? What were some of your first relationships like? You need to dig up these things. Let's see what the comments say. I'm curious because this is a consistent problem, this jealousy thing. Tough spot to be in. This is Expert Raccoon. The problem is if you are afraid of losing the relationship and are jealous and insecure, it will push her away. All right, so this is a classic example of someone saying like surface-based strong advice of an outcome that could be a worst case scenario. Listen to me on this because this is important. Someone's like, oh, if you do this and you're jealous and insecure, you'll push her away. Absolutely true. Okay. So then the question would be, so what should I do? Right? I just gave some examples of what to do. I'll come back to that. And this is what you get a lot of times. Well, don't do this because this will happen. But you will not be able to work on yourself and overcome your deep insecurity while you are with her. That is a journey you have to take alone, and it will take some time. I don't think it, all right. Personally, I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I don't think it's written. I think you could work on this while you are dating her. But you need to get started now, and you need to talk to a coach or a therapist, right? And the therapist might be, the reason I would suggest a coach is because that's what I do, so I'm biased. But on the flip side, it's more about strategy and other things. Therapy might be deeper than you need to go on this, but it wouldn't be a bad option. Just enjoy the summer fling for what it is. Ironically, he doesn't want a summer fling. So this is a classic example. When he reads this, oh, just enjoy the summer fling. He doesn't want that. He wants her to be his girlfriend. He wants something long-term. So right when he wrote that, you're writing what you would do. Ironically, the less you care about the relationship, the less you invest, the longer she will hang around. Okay, so that's true. The less you care about a relationship, the more you control. He's not doing that right now. So what you're doing is you're telling him something that he can't currently do, nor does he want to do. On the side note, start learning how to build muscle. You are still young and have a window of about 7 to 8 years before your natural testosterone levels start tanking. It does not take hours every day in the gym. That is counterproductive. 45 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes per week is all it takes. The rest is quality food and rest. I don't think the fact that these other guys were more buff is where he was going with this. I think he was just saying that he noticed that they were more buff, right? It made him a little insecure, but his goal isn't to be like them. Women love to be held in a strong set of arms, but what are you really building is mental strength. Mental strength, that's good. A lot of people might say work on yourself and be confident. Realize that you're the one with the girl around your arm, not them. She's with you because of who you are. But me, the answer is obvious. Book an appointment immediately with your tattoo artist and get more work done. See the sarcasm in that? Show any insecurity or jealous and you will lose her. So this is extreme advice, right? Like, think about that. If he took this and was like, oh my God, I better get a hold of this. So I just get that advice and I'll change right away. Jealousy is not something that you can just remove. It's a characteristic that's been embedded in your psyche. Okay. And so you can't just remove it that way. There are lots of relationship videos on YouTube that can help you address this and work past it. I'd suggest starting there. Now, if you're the type of person that you can watch a video, you can implement it, and you're highly assertive, that might work. I would say this: if this is important to you at this point in your life, interview 3 or 4 coaches or therapists, whether that's from YouTube, whether I'm one of them, whether you go to someone else, and then pick the one that you vibe the best with, and then specifically go to work on this problem, not just this incident with this girl. Also, you have to look at things with more confidence. I had a lady once tell me, okay, so this is another way. I can just dissect this real quick. Hey, be more confident. How does someone just be more? Hey, you need to be more confident. Oh, let me just turn on the dial. You need to find out what areas. Confidence isn't about having the world by the balls. It's not like you're good at everything. It's not like you're ultra rich. Confidence is actually being good at like 2 or 3 things, really good, having some significance. There's a formula to it, right? Here's the thing. No one is confident at everything. Think about that for a minute. No matter how confident or secure you are as a person, there's going to be a moment or a situation where you kind of like, wow, this is really uncomfortable. So the idea is like, oh, you just need to be more confident. Very surface-based advice. Okay. And it's not the advice. Your self-image is very important. Regardless of what those other guys look like, she is with you. Every guy, even the buff guy, gym rats have self-esteem issues. That's one of the reasons they go to the gym so often. Recognize this and use it to your advantage. You met a week ago, you're already jealous and insecure, bro. Let me rephrase this. I've always been insecure about my body, but it's been a while since I've felt this way. So her being fit and liking men that are also fit, along with my buried and non-worked on insecurities, sparking a rise in my jealousy and insecurity. This sounds more like a problem that you're not ultra insecure. You just really want a girlfriend right now and you think she's the one. That's what I would guess. All right, let me check it on the chat really quick. Yes, guys with tats think it makes them look tough, but they don't realize they are walking around with a sign saying, I like to spend my days in salons. I've never been a tattoo person, but I've had friends that are really into tats and things like that. And some of them are cool, you know, like it's art to them. So I wouldn't just say that, but your comments are welcome. Mir, you're welcome. It's good to watch. Let's see here. It's fun, like guess the right advice. 8 years is not a bad age gap. I agree. Mirror, did you see the Dirty John? I've seen that actually. I saw that. I remember I was corrected by a coworker before. Stop saying I seen that. Stop saying I seen that. It's I saw. Sorry, love. It's not jealousy. It's that your need for validation from others makes me less attracted to you. All guys with tattoos have, okay, you are welcome. It's good. Yes, guys with tats thinks it makes them look tough. One day at a time. Have fun living that life now. It's great. Thanks, BW. I can say Mac helped unpack this with me, and I'm doing pretty accomplished and good. Outstanding, Ben. I love to read that. Thanks for posting that, bro. I really appreciate it. And I'm happy for you, and I'm not surprised. Jealousy is connected to insecurity. Sure. And then there's these little stories and narratives of things that have happened to you that cement that pillar, right? And finding that pillar of where your jealousy comes from can just unclog the sink. But some people wear their jealousy as something that they're very proud of. There's a lot of people really proud of being jealous. And they can find someone that suits that. We got 7 on deck. Keep the comments coming. If you want me to answer a question directly about your situation, we can do that. Mind virus that gets bigger with more attention. Jealousy is good if done with class, not dynamic. It's good that your partner gets attention. Why shouldn't they? The thing is like I said, there's a difference between being situationally jealous. There's a difference between being triggered by a certain event that happened to you in the past, or someone's trying to make you jealous, or that you're just a jealous person by nature, right? Those are all different things. They're all different dynamics. Yes, and she is challenging with fit body. English professor on call. Let's get into another one of these. Let's see. Put this here. Am I overreacting, or does my boyfriend only want me for sex? You might not be overreacting. Should we look at this one? Let's take a vote here. My friend came across my ex's porn videos. Did I tell her? Do I tell her? Oh, this is a good question. I want to have the what are we talk with him. How would I ask him? Very good question. I just had a client that's booked a session a few days ago about this very topic. Different situation, right? Very good question. All of them. I, female 22, met this guy, male 22. So we got 22 and 22 on vacation 2 months ago, and I'm slowly starting to develop very real romantic feelings for him. He's my exact type, looks and personality wise. So at 22 years old, you know your exact type. Good for you. But we don't live close to each other. We're planning on meeting again in the next few months. So you've only met once. We've already kissed and had other flirty interactions. However, I don't want to get my hopes up. I want clarity if we're pursuing a romantic relationship to avoid hurt feelings for just another. How would I ask him if I'm being taken serious? Well, I mean, if you're 2 months in and you met on vacation and you guys aren't in each other's area, you certainly could ask. I mean, what are you trying to start here? So long distance relationships, if you start that way, they never end well. You're basically starting at a deficiency. So if you're going to do a long distance relationship, hopefully it starts out that you live in the same area or within an hour or two and you're able to see each other, you know, on the weekends, whatever. If you're going to start a relation, we met on vacation and we're going to accept the fact that we're going to be long distance for the next 2 years, you're going to have all kinds of problems. Now, there is certain people that are outliers that like online relationships and sexting and all that other stuff. But for the most part, if you're going to start this way, I would say slowly and surely. But the one thing that you're not looking at, and the elephant in the room, is this. If you live far apart or far away from each other, how are you going to close that gap? Now, if you're able to close that gap, right, and live in his area or he lives in your area for whatever reason within an hour, right, then you can start talking about long-term situation of living together in relationship. In the meantime, if you want to keep things going on the phone and maybe visiting each other, I wouldn't say that going into boyfriend girlfriend after 2 months and only meeting once is on the agenda for him, most likely. But you could certainly bring it up. But the question would be, what's the finish line for us actually living in each other's town or city? That one you have to get to before you get to what you just asked. Just checking in with the chat. Does people like this flow going with the stories from relationship advice? We do have Reddit does have a breakup forum too, but I like this idea of going through stuff that are problems. Oh, this is a good one. This actually comes up all the time. My 30-year-old wife and me, 31-year-old husband, have been together 9 years. Congratulations. She still snaps an ex. Should I be worried? So this comes up, this Snapchat thing. You make that rule between you two. This isn't a rule that everyone else is going to be like, oh yeah, and you never do that or you do that. Have you met the ex would be my question. Are you comfortable with her talking to him or carrying on things? And what does she say about that relationship would be my first question. My wife would get Snapchats from an ex of hers who has been sleazy in the past. She was in love with this guy and he broke her heart. Okay, if that's the case, then they shouldn't do Snapchats. I asked her to block him because I wasn't comfortable. She did it for a while. Good. So that's an answer to the problem. Hey, can you block him? I'm not comfortable with it. You guys are married. You've been together 9 years. If this guy broke her heart, and you're saying he's sleazy, okay, that's left for interpretation. You're biased in that sense. But bottom line, you're not comfortable with it. You're married. You're allowed to say, hey, hon, I don't want you snapping that individual anymore. Now, if she says no, then you got to deal with that and have another conversation and decide what your boundary is. Then a few weeks later, she told me she wanted to unblock him and apologize for treating, and he apologized for treating her bad in the past. And she told me and him she really appreciates the apology and wants to make it clear that they can be friends, but she is in a happy marriage with me and had 2 kids. All right. If she wants to do that, like, let's just say this is one of those situations where he's in a 12-step. If anyone doesn't know what a 12-step program is, it's usually for alcohol first and foremost, but drugs also. And sometimes what happens is people, one of their steps is to reach out and get forgiveness for being an asshole or being a jerk. And they'll be like, hey, I just wanted to reach out and let you know that I'm really sorry and I really valued our relationship. Okay, so he wants to reach out, do an apology. If I was the husband, would I like that? Hell no. No. But hear her out, right? If she wants to say, look, I really appreciated the apology, but I made it clear to him. The part I would say is like, no, I don't accept that you guys are going to be friends. If you want to accept his apology so that he can forgive himself, that's fine. But drop the mic there. You don't need to continue to be friends. You had a relationship with this guy. You were into him before. I'm not comfortable with you guys being friends. If you want to accept his apology from a thing from a long time ago, that's fine. Maybe that'll mend your heart or his in some way. That's totally fine. But you're not going to continue to be friends. I think they talk quite a bit now, and it really bugs me, but she doesn't seem to understand why and shows no intention of stopping. What do I do? We also have 2 kids together, which just adds more variable to how I feel about it. Yeah, this isn't cool. Like I said, if she accepted the apology and stuff like that, and they're talking regularly as friends, it's not cool. So in the comments, if she ain't banging him yet, she will be. This is why when you post stuff like this, now people are throwing thoughts in your head. The question is, will that be for closure? Would it have just happened, be one-time mistake, or has she driven it up to being controlling? She literally just told me if I give her an ultimatum, she will be upset because I'd be controlling her life in a way that's not comfortable to her. Now, this isn't cool. You're married, you got 2 kids. Like I said, if this guy sought her out to get an apology because he did some really bad shit and he wants amends. Okay, fine. But where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a lot of smoke here. And the fact that, you know, they've anteed up, you've already made yourself uncomfortable with this. And now she's flipped it into, wow, you're just being controlling. There's a lot of different things you can do here. Ultimatums don't usually work, right? Because people feel like it's gun to the head negotiation. So it's not like you're, oh, I'm going to divorce and I'm going to jeopardize you as being the kid's mom and whatnot. So let's just think of a few things you can do here. All right, you want to be friends with him? Let's all go out to dinner. One option. Not saying that's the answer. Oh, how's John doing? Let's get him on the chat. Let's do a video chat together. I'd like to talk to him. Now that you guys are friends, try that out. Or, hey, we're throwing a barbecue this weekend. Do you want John to come by? And this isn't sarcasm. This is you going with it, but also saying, like, I'm going to be present to see how he interacts with her. And also shake his hand and go, hey, how you doing? Right? You might also want to ask her some scenarios. Like, look, do you want me to talk to an ex? There's some different things you can do here, but this is a tough situation to be in. The fact that she's calling you controlling for it is not cool. But that's the other thing you can do, like I said. If you're going to be friends, then be friends. Let's all go out to dinner together. And that actually might scare the guy off, if he's got any class. I would need to know more to the story, more context to give you further advice. But the idea of just giving an ultimatum is probably not going to work. Here's a good one. I keep having second thoughts after breaking up with my boyfriend. What should I do? This is a good one. This comes up a lot in what I do, right? So let me just check in with the chat. It's been good. It's good. I do it 1 minute per person in place in my life, like maybe 3. Okay. What I mean is there's a future here or not. Okay. I do analytical behavior selection. So it has to be in the first minute. Wow. I'd like to learn more about that. I judge people by handshake. Don't like that soft, half-open handshake. The wilted handshake. I know what you're talking about. Ask her to send him a text saying, shouldn't do this, but want to hook up, and both see his... That's called entrapment, mirror. That's an option. Bottom line is the fact that she was head over heels and he broke her heart. That ended with an open loop for her. In psychology, that's an open loop, and it means it's like a cliffhanger. So she probably still has some attraction there. But if you guys are 9 years married and you have 2 kids, it's no bueno. It's not okay. And you got to stand on that. You really do. You got to go, look, this is not okay. We have 2 kids. We're married for 9 years. It's not okay. You can't, if you want to give this guy an apology, but you guys are having like little conversations on the side. No. And I'm not saying, and he should say, I'm not saying you can't have friends or you can't even have a guy friend at work. I'm not even going there. Your ex-boyfriend? No. All right. I, 28-year-old female, had been dating my boyfriend since 33. He was very loving and caring. My boyfriend was usually very nice to me, but there were occasions that kind of put me off sometimes. For instance, he is my senior at work. He does not get along well with one of my friends as he thinks she skips and escapes work. All right, so right off the bat, when you work with someone you're dating or you're with, it's just not good, okay? Because you don't want to shit where you eat, right? Like it creates more entanglements and issues outside of your intimacy and your relationship. And this is a great example of it. This is work crap mixed with your relationship. And the fact that the person's your senior, your boss, or someone that tells you what to do is even worse. It happens a lot. The relationships usually don't last, though. I had told him to deal with it by talking it out with her, but instead, after a few days of observing her or so, he had started calling her a fatty in my presence and behind her back. Like, for example, ask the fatty to go to work. She escapes usually anyway. Well, that's inappropriate. I might upset you a little bit. You decide what words offend you over the top, and you make those judgments. Okay. Everyone has their own trigger words. He also keeps joking about the way my friend looks and dresses, also commenting things like, if she continues with that attitude, who will even be with her? Slowly, I observed this behavior regarding many people, remarks on couples as to how they won't last, jokes on how women are responsible for quarrels most of the time. When I question, is that what he thinks of women? He just says it's a joke and that I am different, even in the earlier days at my job when I had made a mistake. Well, you might just not like his sense of humor. He had seen that. He made comments saying he let it slide and it was me. But if it sounds like you're building a case to break up right now. If it had been anybody else, you would have slapped them. FYI, it wasn't a terrible mistake. I'd corrected it later on. That's a bad joke. If it was anyone else, I would have slapped them as he's a male to a female. Since I had difficulty setting professional boundaries and people were pushing their work on me, he initially used to advise me on how I can tackle those, but it later came to him telling me what to say, what to do, everything. As I had been observing all these, I had felt the comments he had made about others will easily be directed to me in the future, and hence I broke up with him. After a breakup, I keep getting messages from him that his heart was always in a good place, as he was worried about me being taken advantage of by other people because of which he made such comments. All right, so let me get into this. The way he's treating other people, you're next. Okay, so like at some point, if you gain some weight, he's going to call you fatty. The idea that you don't like the way he talks to other people, friends, family, colleagues, it's going to be a problem long term. Sounds like a jerk. His sense of humor is not funny to you. That's a problem. Okay. The idea that he's your senior, that's a problem at work. After a breakup, I keep getting messages from him that his heart was always in a good place and he was worried about me being taken advantage of. So he throws a guilt net, makes himself the hero, right? By other people because of which he made such comments that I wouldn't be able to find someone as supportive as him in my life ever. That's manipulative. So that you'll never find someone as supportive as me. Nobody will respect me as he does and to give us a chance again. So just that paragraph alone, if I read this, to give you a lot of times I like to give people open choices, like let's go through it. In this particular case, just be done with this jerk off. And just after the breakup, I keep getting messages from him that his heart was always in a good place and he was worried about me being taken advantage of. That I wouldn't be able to find someone as supportive of him in my life ever. Done. Someone says that to you, something like that, they think they're elevated above you that much. Bye-bye. See you later, alligator. Nobody will respect me as he does and not give us a chance again. Some of my friends keep saying to consider giving him a chance, and I say I'm overthinking this. I don't know what to do. Should I give him a second chance? No. How old are you? 28, he's 30. No. And the fact that you guys work together, get another job somewhere else and move on from this. You'll never meet another supportive person like me again. People that needed to define things like that, they need to define, like they're like, you'll never find a person like me. It's a ridiculous statement. So, what you just wrote there, just be done. Because what you're doing is you're just answering to him. Please explain more about open loop cliffhanger. Open loop. Okay, what an open loop means is the same as a cliffhanger. So a lot of the dating books and things like that teach men to be more mysterious. And actually a lot of the ones for women, from what I understand, teach women to be more mysterious and whatnot. And so what that does as a human, right? So let's just say someone like a classic open loop is someone tells you a story, and then they just cut it off. Just like a series has a cliffhanger. At the end of the series, you're like, oh shit, I gotta watch the next episode. The reason you have to do that is there's open loops. The story didn't finish. So for a lot of times, like for example, earlier in this live stream, we were talking about the guy that got the text, right? Like he found an old phone that had text from his wife about a story that was from 2 years ago. But he's putting together the text messages, and the text messages are saying things like, oh, it's my best friend texting me that my girlfriend's out with some other guy. All right, so that's an open loop because you haven't completed that story. You haven't, if he just goes, hey, I just saw Mandy out with her ex-boyfriend, the story's not over, right? Like you're gonna want to know more. That's not enough information. Where are they at right now? I don't know where they're at right now, but I just saw them in the car. That's an open loop. Open loop means the story hasn't ended. It hasn't been completed. And so this is why when you watch a movie or a series, you want to watch the next one. This is also why if you watch like a soap opera type series, a soap opera series, what they do really good is they'll give you 5 different stories, and then they'll open loop. So they go to one story and then they leave it in the middle of the story, and then they go to the next story, and then they go to the next story. Now you have 5 open loops. So your mind's just like very intrigued, right? And you're not fixing any of them. That's why a breakup's so difficult, because a lot of times during the breakup, you're in an open loop where you're like, where are they? What are they doing? It's an open loop because in your mind, this is my girlfriend that's been checking in with me or living with me for 5 years, and now I don't know where she's at. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what her intentions are. You see what I'm saying? And this is the thing that consumes your mind. And so letting go of open loops is really difficult for some people. And you'll even see speakers when they're teaching, especially people that do neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, they'll say, oh, let me close that loop. They're trying to finish their point. Good question. Oh, this one happens a lot. Okay, let's go into this. This is a good one. All right. This happens a lot. 22-year-old male did a bad thing and went through my girlfriend's text. Okay, first of all, this happens all the time. Okay, this happens all the time. If you think that even your girlfriend or your boyfriend, your husband or your wife, that they haven't looked through your phone once, I'd say that there's probably only like 20% or 30% of the population that's done that, and they haven't told you. This is just so common, it's ridiculous. I've had clients before that are professional, they're honest, they have a lot of integrity, and they'll be like, I've had my girlfriend's code to her phone for months. And here's the crazy thing, they'll keep checking, but they won't say anything, but they'll ask you questions to see if you'll continue to lie. It's very common. Very common. So in a conversation with her best friend, I found them talking about how she cheated on me months ago. In those messages, she said she cried immediately afterwards and regretted everything. She never told me. How do I approach this? Great question. Just before I get started on this, I don't know the details of it, which will make a different answer, but you have to confront it. So there's a lot of people that don't confront it because it's just so uncomfortable, right? What they'll do instead, especially guys, is they'll try to eke it out of the girlfriend, like get her to, well, what about this guy? Like they'll ask questions instead of just be like, hey, because they don't want to say they looked through her phone, because she's gonna go like, wow, you looked through my, hey, I looked through your phone, I know about this. I need to talk to you about it. I want to get clear on it. Have a clear, clean, direct conversation. Because it's not going to go good. If you want to let it go, but it's going to linger. And you won't trust her. Our relationship was turbulent 6 months where she was getting abused by her father, became homeless, and ended up living with me after only dating for a month and a half. Okay, that's a lot of crap. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that for her. I'm a busy student and was going through health problems of my own, so we started butting heads pretty quickly because we were two young people going through a lot of living in one room. Okay, so just right off the bat, this is a good example of circumstances and timing. So you're right off the bat, the first 6 months you guys were in a different place, not a good place mentally. Okay, so that'll make things different in your relationship. Eventually she moved out and I became somewhat distant for a week or two because I needed time to catch up on my work and space to myself. I know she was upset because she felt like I was pulling away, but I thought we left things well off after her move out. Last night while she was out at an event. So when she moved out, were you still together would be my question. She was out at an event of mutual friends to which I chose not to go. I got the sudden urge to go through her laptop, which she left at my place. She did this to me months ago before she moved in and found nothing, although that was a blatant violation of my privacy and trust. We moved on from that incident. So now you're doing it, right? Oh my goodness. I'm not sure what got a hold of me, but I went through messages with her best friend and eventually came across what got a hold of you is temptation. Okay. With her best friend and eventually came across a short conversation from over 2 months ago where the best friend was somewhat indifferent to her cheating, but told her that it would only make her feel awful and accomplish nothing. It was a told you so moment where my girlfriend said that her bestie was 100% correct, 1,000% correct, and she broke down in tears after they had intimacy because she betrayed my trust and treated me crappily. She never told me this, obviously. I found out by snooping. I'm confused. I'm not sure what I got a hold of, but I went through messages. So she cheated. All right. Not sure why I did that. I think I just wanted to know. If you already found it. So this idea that, oh, I went through her thing. You found what you were looking for. She cheated. Okay. What are you going to do now? You need to confront her. You need to get more facts and ask more questions. And then after you ask more questions, you get more facts. You take some time. You get in your corners. You said you don't live together. Take some time and think about what you want to do next. If you want to talk to me, book a session. We can unpack it. What you want to do is look at your choices. The idea that, I shouldn't have looked in her phone or I shouldn't have looked in her laptop. That's done. Crime has been committed. Okay. So like the idea that you did it and she did it doesn't matter. You found what you were looking for. I'm conflicted because she expressed a lot of regret from all the messages I read. It was one-off circumstance. I care about her incredibly. So right there. Okay. If anyone's going to agree or be okay with someone cheating, what I always say is this something that they did that's out of character, they regret and they feel bad about? Or is this something that they don't feel bad about? It's completely a part of their character and they just don't even care that they did it. Those are two different things. Now, both of those are hard to forgive. One of those, in some cases, deserves a second chance if you're one of those people that has a soft heart. It just depends on what your line is on cheating, but you do need to have the conversation. You can't let it go. A lot of people don't even want to have the conversation. With that said, even with the regret and sorrow she shared with her friend, cheating is a major violation of my trust. Are situations like this recoverable? My heart is telling me to work things out because it's gone 2 months unperturbed, but my ego is telling me to move forward. See, that's the problem. So why haven't you confronted her in 2 months? It's because your ego is telling you to move. It's not your ego that's telling you to move forward. It's your morals and values. So you just need to get more facts and figure out, when you guys have a talk, do you believe her that she won't do it again? And can you forgive her or start the process of forgiving? Right? So until you confront her, You don't know. When people start relationships, do they talk about deal breaker situations? That's a really good question, Sabina. I think most people don't, because they like to lead with everything's going great, rose petals and wine glasses. But the reality is, even if you set up deal breaker situations, there's still a little nuance to that situation. So if someone says, if you cheat, then I'll never go out with you again and I'll break up with you and I want to give you my key back. Okay. But what you don't realize is if that cheating involved someone getting really drunk and then the next day saying that they're really sorry and they would never do that again, they were out of hand, someone might say, oh, that's an excuse. The situation is what's going to decide. Like deal breaker situations, cheating is an umbrella topic. How you cheated and how you feel about it and how you go about it afterwards is different. So I think you can set those deal breaker situations, but most people, not all, are not rigid in that way where it's like, oh, you did this, so I'll never talk to you again. The story still needs to be unpacked. All right, that's 2 hours clean. This was fun today. Thank you, Sabina. Thank you, Mirror. Thanks, Ben W. I'll be doing more of these for sure. Any closing questions? I don't think so. We got through a lot today. These are great questions. Boyfriend has close female friend. Let's just do this one last one really quick. Let's see how long this is. Oh, this is long. Boyfriend has close female friend. This is a big one. Productive advice only. Positive criticism if necessary. So you're giving directions from the back. Okay. I'm a 23-year-old female with a boyfriend of the same age. We've been dating for basically half a year now. We haven't yet met each other's friends properly. My boyfriend has a few close friends, one of which is 22. My boyfriend tells me about her frequently, conversations they've had and how close they are, and where they've had calls quite a lot and would know basically everything about each other. He did say upon meeting me, they decided to cut how much contact they had with each other out of respect for me. Let's pull this up. Let's just pull this up real quick. Talk to each other. They hadn't met since my boyfriend met me, and recently my boyfriend came to me and asked me how I would feel if they met up with each other in his car. I wasn't comfortable with the idea and rejected it. Good. He understood and then suggested that we all could meet up together, me, him, and his friend. I was quite hesitant with this, where I thought it could go well. Part of me is nervous with the prospect it might not go well. I might see something I don't like, or she may not like me. If she's single right now, no. You just got to ask him, what's his intention? Why are they staying friends? And I'm afraid if I reject my boyfriend would hold some sort of resentment for not letting me meet his friend. And I don't want that. I also don't want to be someone who is controlling. So this is she's a close female friend. I thought it was an ex-girlfriend. You need to meet her in person. That's all you need to do. Meet in person, go out to dinner, and then you can size up things. You can size up the way she's looking. If you guys meet in person, have dinner, hang out, go to a coffee shop, you can size up real quick what the intentions are, how she's looking at your boyfriend, how she's looking at you, how she's interacting. You can get more information and make a better, more informed choice. All right, folks, it's been good. It's been grand. I'm out. It's curtains.